Jairus was a leader of the synagogue, the place of worship, in the town of Capernaum. His 12-year-old daughter was very seriously ill. Although many of those in the synagogue, place of worship, would not have turned to Jesus for help, Jairus did. He went searching for Jesus. Jesus had just come back from the other side of Lake Galilee, and a large crowd was waiting for him when he arrived in Capernaum. Jairus saw Jesus and came and fell at his feet. He pleaded with him, "Please, Jesus, come to my house. My daughter is dying." As Jesus was on his way through the town, the crowds were so full with people that they nearly crushed him. Everybody wanted to see Jesus. Among the crowd was a woman who had been ill for many years, with an illness that made her bleed. She had spent all her money going to doctor after doctor after doctor to make her better, but her condition had only got worse. Hoping that nobody would spot her, she crept up through the crowd behind Jesus. She thought, "If I can just touch the bottom of his cloak, I'll be healed." The woman reached down and touched the bottom edge of Jesus' cloak. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she finally felt well. At once, Jesus knew power had gone out from him. He turned round in the crowd and asked, "Who touched me?" His disciples replied, "Lord, everyone is crowding around and pushing, and you're asking who touched you?" But Jesus wasn't talking about people bumping into him or brushing up against him in the crowd. Jesus said, "No, somebody touched me. I know that the power has gone out from me." The woman was so scared that her hands were trembling and shaking with fear. She fell at Jesus' feet and said in front of everybody, "Lord, it was me. It was me who had touched you. I touched the bottom of your cloak, and the illness that I had had for years was immediately healed." Jesus took her by the hand and replied, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go away in peace." While Jesus was still speaking to the woman, somebody came running from Jairus' house. "Don't bother the good teacher anymore," the man said. "Jairus, your daughter is dead." Hearing what the man had said, Jesus turned to Jairus and said, "Don't be afraid, Jairus. Just believe, and your daughter will be healed." Jesus went to Jairus' house, where there were many people sobbing, crying, full of sadness and grief. Jesus told the people to stop crying, and then he made his way up to the little girl's room. Jesus took the girl by the hand and said, "My child, get up." At once, the little girl sat up in bed and then stood on her feet, full of life. Jesus told her astonished parents to give the little girl something to eat, and then he asked them all not to tell anyone what had happened. Now, let's rewind back into about the middle of this story and focus on the woman who Jesus meets in the crowd. This woman's behaviour shows that she has a huge belief that Jesus can heal her. This is a woman who says she's seen many doctors over many years and none of them have been able to deal with her problem. None of them have been able to give her a medicine that'll help, or no doctor has been able to treat her, to help her. Nothing has helped. But this woman clearly, absolutely believes that Jesus can heal her. Her behaviour shows that belief. In this crowd of people, she does everything she can to make sure that she can get close to Jesus just to touch his cloak. And when Jesus realizes that his power has gone out of him, and he asks, "Who touched me?" And he has this conversation with this woman. She tells Jesus, "I knew if I just touched your cloak, I would be well." And she's got a big view of Jesus, isn't she? She's got the right view of Jesus. She understands just how special Jesus is. She understands that this is a man who, I know he doesn't even have to say anything to me. I know if I just touch his cloak, he's that powerful that I can be healed. So this woman's behaviour shows an absolute belief that Jesus can heal him. What does the story tell us about Jesus? Well, it shows us that he is as good as the woman believes he is. The woman believes that if I could just touch his cloak, then I'll be healed. And she touches his cloak, and she is healed. So Jesus' power is everything that she hoped it was going to be. It shows us that her view of Jesus is spot on. It is absolutely right. She thinks that Jesus is powerful enough to do this for her, and Jesus is powerful enough to do that for her. So this woman has a big view of Jesus. She gets how special and how wonderful he is. And the story shows us that that is the case. Jesus is as special and as wonderful as this woman believes and hopes he is. What does Jesus say has healed the woman? Her faith. We've heard that word so many times over the last 7 or 8 weeks of stories. Her faith has healed her. Faith is being sure of what we hope for, sure of what our hope is, and certain of what we do not see. And that does describe the woman's behaviour, doesn't it? She is sure of what Jesus can do for her, and she follows through on it, and she's healed. After many years of pain and many years of illness and many years of hopelessness, of going to doctor after doctor and not having her problem dealt with or even helped in any way, Jesus heals her. Jesus is as good as she thinks that he is, and as good as she believes he is. So from hopelessness to hope, from not having her problem dealt with and not having her illness dealt with to having it dealt with once and for all, from doctor after doctor who are not good enough to help her to the one man who is good enough by far to help him. Do you and I have faith like this woman had faith? Do we have that faith in the Lord Jesus? Do we believe on him to deal with our biggest problem? As we've learned over the last few weeks, our biggest problem is not the illness that this woman had. Our biggest problem is our sin. Do we have faith in the Lord Jesus to deal with our problem for us? Have we trusted in him?